My name is Graham Smith. I'm General Manager for Cafe Express in New Zealand. We're a joint venture partner with the Bell Tea Company. We employ 52 people and we're based in Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch and Dunedin. Up until recently we were actually individually owned companies, and through a series of events we went into a joint venture arrangement with Bell Tea, and part of the success of that merger I put down to the relationship that I established with Gai some 2.5 years ago. I first met Gai following an introduction via a third party referral. I was very sceptical in the early days about coaches. I saw coaches as probably people who were very expensive, who basically talked a lot of mumbo jumbo, and probably through my own experience of dealing with coaches didn't really place a lot of credibility. Against all sorts of judgment calls, I gave a phone call, met up with her, and I would have to say that was probably a life-changing exercise for me from that point forward. My first introduction to Gai was through a third-party referral, and I gave her a call. She came in, sat down, and waylaid a whole lot of fears that I had around coaches, and we basically just sat and talked about what I was looking for, and at that stage it was nothing. She talked about what she did, and the thing that probably struck me right from the start was this person who I thought was going to sit and talk at me didn't actually do that. She sat and listened. She listened to what I had to say. We talked over a whole series of events. She talked about where our business was at that time, and where I was at personally at that time. And to be fair, right at that moment I was working some ridiculous hours. I had no work-life balance. I didn't have a really good plan, and to be quite fair, I was winging it quite well, I got to say, but we were winging it. Sat down with her and we talked about how her services, or how she as a coach could help me. And from that first meeting onwards, we talked about basic structure and plan, about how the business ran, and my frustrations. And I guess my main frustration at that time was the fact that I was at the top of an organisation, the business that was going very well, and I didn't actually have anybody that I could use as a sounding board. A lot of what I've done with Gai over the last 2.5 odd years hasn't been about coaching. It's directly. It's been about listening, and it's been about talking. It's been about the sharing of ideas. But then there's also been that the important stuff like setting targets and setting goals for myself. And what I've found over those years is that if I didn't actually have targets preset for myself, I tended to be a little bit standoffish and not sort of push the status quo too much. I was pretty comfortable at that point in time, in those early days, with the status quo. As I say, it was a business that was growing, and we had a good team. I was wanting to push it further, but probably was a little unsure about how I was going to do that. And talking with Gai, we set in place a series of plans, and one of those initial plans was to, as I remember it, was establish a commercial laundry operation. It's something I've been thinking about doing for a couple of years, but it was, never really got too involved in it. But from that first day I started talking about it, we set a process in place, and within nine weeks we had a fully commercial laundry up and running, which has proven to be very successful and is now an integral part of our business. That wouldn't have happened if I hadn't sat and talked to Gai. We also talk about my own personal home life balance, which at that point in time wasn't a flat flash. We set in place, in fact, one thing I do remember quite clearly is one thing that was important to me was to take a holiday. And I sat in this meeting with Gai this particular day, and she said, where would you like to go? And I had a colleague of mine ran a hotel up in Cairns, in Port Douglas actually, and he said to me, I said, I'd like to go and spend some time up in Port Douglas. So at that moment in time, she says, so go and book it. I said, oh yeah, well I need to talk to people first. And she goes, well, why? You've already decided that's what you want to do. So we booked it, and it was such a cool feeling going home and saying to my family, we're off to Cairns. I took the leave, I plotted it in, And for the first time in probably 10 years, I took my family away for a holiday, and thank you, Gai. That was still quite a memorable holiday for me. If I get asked the question if I get asked questions about business coaches and why you use a business coach, it's something that's very personal. I think it's something that you actually have to experience to really understand how a business coach can work for you. Probably the biggest thing I would say, and the biggest thing that the changes had on me in my business life, and to a large degree my personal life, is the fact that a business coach is somebody who doesn't talk at you. A business coach is somebody, in my experience anyway, is somebody who listens to what I have to say, who understands what I've got to say, who puts across a whole range of different ideas and things that I can think about, and doesn't tell me how to run my business. I think that's what I thought would happen in using a coach. I think I understood a coach or someone was going to tell me how to run my business. If you can understand, it's actually the complete opposite of that. It's actually somebody who uses your own ability and your own knowledge and intuition about your own business and just channels it in the right direction through discussion, through listening, through talking. Then that's really how a business coach is going to work. It was, as I said earlier, perhaps the best decision I ever made. I will be using a business coach as long as I'm around. I just see their value is incredible. I guess it all depends on the relationship and the person that you've got. I was lucky; I got the right person first time up, and have really enjoyed the experience and continue to have in dealing with Gai.